she deleted his number.
Johnny dated Robin for 3 months, but now he decided to break up with Robin because of his job. He would be working 50 hours a week. He wouldn't have enough time to invest in her. Robin was sad. She didn't want to break up with him. She thought he was not trying hard enough. She thought he should have made time for her. It took a long time for Robin to get over Johnny. He popped in her mind every day. Little things would remind her of him. For example, she saw a pink rose on the ground and she thought of Johnny. It was because Johnny gave her pink roses when she was accepted to dental school. Robin would cry and talk about Johnny to her friends. They felt sorry for her. How could she think about one person so much? Robin said she still had hope that they would get back together. Her friends said that she needed to stop thinking of. They suggested that she delete his number. It took Robin a long time, but she eventually deleted his number. She also deleted him on Facebook. She felt so much better. She was no longer constantly reminded of Johnny. 3 months later, she got a text message from an unknown number asking her to meet up for coffee. She texted, "Who is this?" Johnny realized that Robin had deleted his phone number. He decided to say, "Wrong number. I hope you're happy, though." Robin thought to herself, "I am."
Running a marathon.
Philip is going to run a marathon, which is about 26 miles. Philip has always been good and fast at running. He knows how to keep a good pace. He is always the fastest one on his track team. In fact, many of his teammates are sure that he is going to run track in college. Philip decided to run a marathon to raise money for charity. The charity was for breast cancer. Philip's mom died of breast cancer, so the cause was important to him. Philip practiced running prior to the marathon. He started off by running 8 miles, then 12, then 20, and finally 26. He had practiced for 3 months. On the day of the marathon, Philip felt ready. He wore a comfortable tank top and running shorts. He also wore his lucky red socks. Philip went to the marathon. He stood at the starting line and wished the other participants good luck. Philip started running. He felt really good about himself. Running was like a roller coaster, which was full of ups and downs. The beginning was always really good because he was highly motivated. The middle was harder because he got more tired. During the middle of the marathon, he smelled something bad. He wondered who it came from. He noticed that people were running past him really quickly. He smelled his armpits. It was him. He had forgot to put deodorant on.
Movie hopping.
Movie hopping is seeing multiple movies when you only paid to see one. Many people movie hop. It is very easy to do it. Most of the time you don't get caught. Norma got caught though. She did it a lot. The most movies she ever saw in one day was 7. She saved so much money. Her friends usually did it with her if it was just 2 movies. But if it was over 2 movies, they just left her. They thought 3 movies were too much. Norma went out on a date with Stephen, who asked her what she wanted to do. She said she wanted to go to the movie theater. He said okay. They went to see a documentary on whales. After that, Norma suggested seeing another movie. "Okay, let me just pay for it at the front," Stephen said. "No need for that. We can just walk into the next one," she said. "Isn't that illegal?" Stephen asked. "I mean, yes, but everyone does it," she said. "Not me. I think it's wrong. The movie industry loses a lot of money and that affects the employees at the theater, actors, and actresses," he said. "Actors and actresses make so much money. They will be fine. Also, employees get the same hourly wage no matter what," Norma said. "I don't think I can date you. We have very different ideals," he said. "I agree," she said. Stephen left the movie theater while Norma stayed. She watched 3 more movies that day.
He decided to hire her.
Emily was unemployed. She had been looking for a job for over 6 months now. Everyone was surprised that she still did not have a job. She graduated from a top university with honors. She was likable and did a lot of volunteer work related to environmental awareness. Emily has done many interviews, but it never went right. She knew she was a pretty good interviewee. It's just that the jobs she applied for were really competitive. She was no longer the best like she was in college. She was average. A couple of months later, Emily found a job opening at an environmental law firm. She discovered that her classmate from high school, Chris Smith, was the hiring director. She has not talked to him since the end of high school, but they were good friends during high school. She decided to give him a call. She told him that she majored in environmental science in college and that she was interested in the law assistant position. Chris was upset that she only called him because she was interested in the job. "No, I also wanted to hear how you're doing too," Emily said. "Yeah, right. Well, I'm definitely not hiring you, so don't even try," he said. Emily applied anyways. When Chris came across her application, he scoffed. But then he looked at her application and noticed that her resume was very impressive. She did well in school and she did a lot of work in the environmental science field. He decided to hire her.
Sean wanted to change his name.
Sean never liked his name. People always made fun of him for it. They always said, "Seen." People would make so many jokes about his name. A lot of them said, "Hey, have you seen Seen?" Sean asked his parents why they gave him that name. They said it sounded nice. "Why did you spell it that way, though?" he asked. His parents said Seen was the usual spelling. "Yeah, but people still keep making fun of me," he said. "Your name is great. Your classmates are just immature," his mom said. Sean looked into changing names. He always liked the name Brandon. He told his parents that he wanted to change his name. They were hurt that they didn't like his name. They told him that if he wanted to change his name, he would have to pay for it himself. They also told him that they would continue calling him Sean. Sean thought that was okay since they were his parents. Sean filled out the petition and did the necessary steps to change his name. At school, Sean told everyone to call him Brandon. Unfortunately, only the teachers accepted his request. Sean realized that his classmates have known him too long as Sean. It was too hard for them to call him Brandon.
They all have different plans.
Phyllis and her friends graduated about a week ago. They all have different plans. Phyllis is moving to New York for medical school. Tina is staying in Los Angeles and working as a medical assistant. Lori is traveling in Europe. Ruby is teaching English in China. The four girls have been best friends since their first year of college. It was hard for all of them to be away from each other. However, they accepted that they were going to do what was best for them. Phyllis was more excited than sad. She has always wanted to go to New York. She loved the fast-paced lifestyle, the skyline, and the subway system. She was also looking forward to being around people who have the same goals as she does. Unlike Phyllis, Tina has taken a break from school. She wants to have a year of work experience before going to medical school. She is excited to take it easy. Lori is excited too. She was going to travel by herself, and she was okay with that. She plans to visit England, Ireland, Spain, Sweden, Denmark, and more. Ruby is more nervous about moving. She has never been to China before and does not speak Chinese. She's excited for her job, though. She loves teaching and seeing students' faces light up when they understand something. Although the four of them will be apart, they promise to keep in contact with each other through video chat. They agreed that they will all talk on Fridays at 8 p.m. They also agreed to meet up for big events such as weddings and holidays.
Adjusting to cold weather.
Paula was from Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles has warm weather all year round. People joke that Los Angeles has no seasons. It never snows, even during the winter. The temperature never goes below 0 degrees. People from Los Angeles can't handle cold weather. Paula was very used to the warm weather in Los Angeles. However, she has to move to Minnesota for school. It is very cold in Minnesota, especially during the winter. Paula is worried that she can't handle it. Paula is buying many warm clothing items and accessories to prepare herself. She has bought mittens, boots, rain boots, long coats, and jackets. Her first day in Minnesota was rough. Even though she was wearing 5 layers, she felt extremely cold. A stranger passed by her and said, "You must be from California." "How'd you know?" she asked. "You're shivering even though you're wearing 5 layers," he said. The man was only wearing a single long-sleeved shirt. Paula's body could not take the cold the first week. She got the cold. She called her parents saying she wanted to move back. They encouraged her to stick with Minnesota. After a couple of weeks, Paula started to get used to the cold weather. She started wearing less clothes and shivering less. That's the great thing about human bodies. They adapt so we can survive.
Meeting the guys.
Jason made a new friend. His name is Daniel. Daniel only has one arm. He lost it in a car accident as a child. Jason really enjoyed Daniel's company. He invited Daniel out with some other friends. Jason was sure that the other guys would like Daniel too. "Meet us at the restaurant," said Jason. Daniel walked into the restaurant. All the other guys stared at him. Daniel got very nervous. "I hope they don't make fun of my arm," he thought. He really wanted to become friends with Jason's buddies. "Wow," said one of the guys. "That's a really nice shirt." Daniel was relieved. He was invited along every week after that.
I know how to snowboard.
Kevin asked Michelle on a date. He wanted to go snowboarding. "I love snowboarding," said Michelle. This was a lie. She had never been snowboarding. She wanted to impress Kevin. "That's great," said Kevin. "Then we can go to the advanced slope." Michelle was terrified. The top of the advanced slope was extremely high. It was too late to say the truth. "This can't be that hard," she thought. "I just have to keep my balance." Michelle flew off the hill. She stayed standing for less than 2 seconds. She looked like a giant snowball by the time she reached the bottom of the slope. Kevin felt bad for her. He hugged her tight to get her warm. Her plan worked out after all.
Sweaters from Grandma.
Stephen loved almost everything about his grandma. There was only one thing he hated. She always knitted sweaters for him. Stephen understood that she did it to be nice. However, all the sweaters were very ugly. Stephen visited her once a week. She had a new sweater for him each time. Stephen lived in a small apartment. There was no room for him to keep all the sweaters. He had to give all of them away. Grandma will never find out, he thought. One day, Stephen's grandma visited him by surprise. She asked to see his sweaters. "Someone stole all of them," he said. "They were too nice." She made him 10 more by the next month.
Protesting SeaWorld.
SeaWorld is one of the most famous parks in the world. Thousands of people visit each year. Most of them go to see the dolphins and whales perform tricks. This is something they could never see in the wild. SeaWorld has been under a lot of pressure lately. Thousands of people have been protesting the parks. These people say that dolphins and whales should not be forced to live in such small places. They should also never be forced to perform pointless tricks. Most people are starting to agree with this. SeaWorld will hopefully start listening to the protesters soon.
The last cigarette.
Mr. White had a bad habit. He was a chain smoker. Mr. White knew his addiction was unhealthy. He couldn't even take walks anymore. He spent all day coughing. Mr. White spent 1 year trying to quit smoking. He would always buy a pack and promise himself it would be the last cigarette. Mr. White went to his doctor for a checkup. His doctor asked him to take an X-ray. They found a tumor on his left lung. He had cancer from all the smoking. Mr. White went home scared. He threw out his cigarettes, but he kept one. This would finally be his last cigarette.
Drive-in theater.
Helen had nothing to do one Saturday night. "Let's go to a drive-in theater," said Donna. Helen had no idea what that was. Donna told her she would love it. Helen agreed to go. Drive-in theaters play movies outdoors. People park their cars in front of a giant screen. They each get a pair of speakers. Everyone watches the movie from their cars. Helen had seen many of them in old movies. "This is where people used to go on dates," she said. She had no idea they still existed. The girls watched a horror movie. It was scarier than watching it in a room with a bunch of people. "They should bring these back," said Donna.
We've been robbed.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith had a fun night out. They had been dancing all night. They did not get home until 3 a.m. They found their front window broken. They ran inside. Everything was thrown on the floor. Their televisions were missing. Their laptops were gone. Even their fancy plates were taken. Mrs. Smith started crying. "We've been robbed," she screamed. The police were called in. "It will probably be impossible to find the burglars," they said. Mr. Smith started cleaning the mess. He saw something lying by the windowsill. It was a wallet. The burglar had dropped it while jumping through the window.
Taking the bus.
Ms. Jackson's car broke down. She took it to the car shop. It had to stay there for 1 week. Ms. Jackson needed a car. She had to get to work somehow. "You can take the bus," said her friend. Ms. Jackson had never taken the bus. She was scared of it. She thought she would get lost. "I've even heard of people getting robbed on buses," she said. "You'll be fine," said her friend. Ms. Jackson got on the bus. It was not very scary. She was actually very relaxed. She ended up falling asleep. She missed her stop and was late for work.
Losing weight.
Michael Phillips is overweight. He wants to lose a lot of weight because he is not happy with how he looks. He is also very unhealthy. His last doctor's appointment was scary. He was told he was at risk of heart disease. Mr. Phillips knows that his diet needs to improve. He eats a lot of burgers and chips. He hardly picks up any fruits or vegetables. "Eating healthy is so boring," complains Mr. Phillips. The doctor gave him more advice. "You need to try exercising more," Mr. Phillips was told. He hardly ever even walks. He bought a treadmill. Mr. Phillips was very determined to succeed.
The new waiter.
Mark Smith needed to get a job. There was one problem. Mark was a bit lazy. He wanted to do something easy. "I know," he said. "I can be a waiter." "I don't think that's the best job for you," said his mom. "Why not?" Mark replied. He thought the job looked very simple. "All I have to do is clean tables," said Mark. "Plus, I would get big tips." Mark got hired as a waiter in a small cafe. He soon realized his mom was right. Everyone who ate left a big mess on the table. Mark hated cleaning up. He was very slow at it, too. He kept dropping plates on the floor. To top it off, he wasn't very nice to customers. They left him small tips. Mark was fired after 3 days.
Big hair.
Dorothy had very curly hair. She hated it. "It's too big," she always complained. Dorothy wanted to be an actress. All actresses she knew had straight hair. It always looked perfect and smooth. Every morning, Dorothy was up at 5 a.m. She spent 2 hours straightening her hair. One morning, Dorothy had a big acting audition. She was running very late. There was no time to straighten her hair. "I'm never going to get the job with this hair," she thought. She was wrong. As soon as the director saw Dorothy, she was hired. "Your hair stands out so much," he said. "You must love it." "Of course I do," replied Dorothy. Dorothy had very curly hair. She hated it. "It's too big," she always complained. Dorothy wanted to be an actress. All actresses she knew had straight hair. It always looked perfect and smooth. Every morning, Dorothy was up at 5 a.m. She spent 2 hours straightening her hair. One morning, Dorothy had a big acting audition. She was running very late. There was no time to straighten her hair. "I'm never going to get the job with this hair," she thought. She was wrong. As soon as the director saw Dorothy, she was hired. "Your hair stands out so much," he said. "You must love it." "Of course I do," replied Dorothy.
A trip to Six Flags.
George's best friend was visiting him. Joseph lived in Arizona. George moved to Los Angeles 2 years ago. He hadn't seen Joseph since then. George wanted his friend to have fun. He wanted to convince him to move to Los Angeles with him. George had a great idea. He would take his friend to Six Flags. They didn't have big roller coasters in Arizona. George and Joseph got on a ride called Tatsu. It was huge and had more than 5 loops. Joseph screamed more than any other people. "Isn't that great?" asked George. "If you move here, we'll be coming here all the time." Joseph never returned to Los Angeles again. George's best friend was visiting him. Joseph lived in Arizona. George moved to Los Angeles 2 years ago. He hadn't seen Joseph since then. George wanted his friend to have fun. He wanted to convince him to move to Los Angeles with him. George had a great idea. He would take his friend to Six Flags. They didn't have big roller coasters in Arizona. George and Joseph got on a ride called Tatsu. It was huge and had more than 5 loops. Joseph screamed more than any other people. "Isn't that great?" asked George. "If you move here, we'll be coming here all the time." Joseph never returned to Los Angeles again.
The pet chicken.
Andrew Williams got a new pet. It was a baby chick. His parents brought it home one day. At first, Andrew did not like the chick. He wanted a different pet. "All of my friends have dogs or cats," he complained. The chick followed Andrew everywhere. She was very cute. After 2 months, Andrew grew very close to her. He named her Rex. Andrew got home from school one day. He started looking for Rex. He couldn't find her anywhere. Rex ran away from home, said Andrew's mom. Andrew was confused. Then he looked at the oven. His mom was cooking a chicken for dinner. Andrew cried. Andrew Williams got a new pet. It was a baby chick. His parents brought it home one day. At first, Andrew did not like the chick. He wanted a different pet. All of my friends have dogs or cats, he complained. The chick followed Andrew everywhere. She was very cute. After 2 months, Andrew grew very close to her. He named her Rex. Andrew got home from school one day. He started looking for Rex. He couldn't find her anywhere. Rex ran away from home, said Andrew's mom. Andrew was confused. Then he looked at the oven. His mom was cooking a chicken for dinner. Andrew cried.
Cat lovers.
Jenny White loved her cats. She owned 6 of them. Jenny spent all her days with the cats. Her friends worried about her. You should go out more, they said. I can't stand leaving my cats alone, replied Jenny. One day, Jenny met a man at work. He was funny and handsome. Jenny started going out with him a lot. She thought he was perfect. Jenny invited him to her house. She was very excited. He's going to love my cats, she thought. The man walked into her house. He started sneezing. He couldn't breathe. He was allergic to cats. I hate cats, he screamed. Jenny White loved her cats. She owned 6 of them. Jenny spent all her days with the cats. Her friends worried about her. You should go out more, they said. I can't stand leaving my cats alone, replied Jenny. One day, Jenny met a man at work. He was funny and handsome. Jenny started going out with him a lot. She thought he was perfect. Jenny invited him to her house. She was very excited. He's going to love my cats, she thought. The man walked into her house. He started sneezing. He couldn't breathe. He was allergic to cats. I hate cats, he screamed.
Learning to ride.
It was a big day for Ms. Wilson. She had just gotten her paycheck. She was on her way to buy her first bicycle. Ms. Wilson grew up in a poor family. They could never afford to buy her a bicycle. Ms. Wilson was now 30 years old. She had a good job and 2 children of her own. She wanted to teach them how to ride a bike, but first she had to learn herself. She chose a big blue bike from the bicycle store. Now it was time to practice. Her first day on the bike was terrible. This is so much harder than it looks, she yelled. After many falls, Ms. Wilson got it down. She felt very proud. I can't wait to teach my kids now, she said. It was a big day for Ms. Wilson. She had just gotten her paycheck. She was on her way to buy her first bicycle. Ms. Wilson grew up in a poor family. They could never afford to buy her a bicycle. Ms. Wilson was now 30 years old. She had a good job and 2 children of her own. She wanted to teach them how to ride a bike, but first she had to learn herself. She chose a big blue bike from the bicycle store. Now it was time to practice. Her first day on the bike was terrible. "This is so much harder than it looks," she yelled. After many, many falls, Ms. Wilson got it down. She felt very proud. "I can't wait to teach my kids now," she said.